Hello.
Okay, so do you want to hear what I learned this week when I made my own barbecue sauce?
Yeah,
Well, I learned
do.
two things. One, it's mostly ketchup, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
It's like I looked up a recipe. I'm like, oh, let's see how you make barbecue sauce. It's like use 2 cups of ketchup, and I was like, fuck no, that's disgusting. So one thing I learned is you can use plain pasta sauce to make it.
Like marinara, just like
Yeah.
red, like just tomatoes,
Just
right?
red sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I learned was how much molasses is in barbecue sauce.
A lot.
Yeah. I didn't know that before.
Oh, I bought molasses for the pulled pork I made for the gender reveal that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I haven't tasted molasses like for like 15 years. So I took a little like spoonful and it was fucking gnarly.
Delicious.
No,
dude, I love the taste of molasses.
Oh man, it's too much.
It speaks to my heritage. You know what I did? We used to have on the farm when as a wee tot, we had, because on farms sometimes you add molasses to grain to give cows nutrients. So we had this big fucking yellow, they looked like a gas tank, but it was molasses and it was behind the barn. And I was like 5, just wandering around, because that's what 5-year-old farm kids do. They just wander around. And I would like sneak and eat molasses because it's so sugary.
Are cow molasses fit for human consumption?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just cheap.
Are you sure about that, Dale? Like, I'm sure.
Nothing happened to me. I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Except for the gout.
That's probably why I have gout, eating cow food when I was a kid.
Hey everyone, welcome to an extremely sweaty episode of Outrage Factory, the podcast where we look at the things that made people mad online this week and explain why they're dumb for caring. I'm your co-host, Eric Bolin.
I'm your other co-host, Dale DeRuiter. I don't know if my sleep apnea machine gave me more energy today or if I'm just fucking delirious from the heat.
Do you have energy? I don't know how you have it. I came home from work. I went into the office today because we have air conditioning at the office. So I was like, and then just like being in the heat for like the walk from the office to the car and from the car to my apartment, I like laid down and had a 40-minute nap as soon as I got home because the heat just like kicks me in the dick. And now I'm sitting in the sweatiest room in our entire house, and I'm like this close to going tarps off for this episode.
Dude, tarps off. I had no energy when I got home because I don't work outside, but I work in a shop that has like basically a garage door. So I'm like outside adjacent. So I was all hot all day and I got home and I had no energy. And I basically watched like trash TV for 2 hours instead of researching. But I did a bit of research, and then and I think the only reason I have energy is because I'm actually drinking caffeine this late in the day. So I'm just gonna fuck myself.
I didn't even have the energy to grab my Outrage Factory mug. I'm just drinking, and I'm drinking a cold beverage. Normally I will drink coffee.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah.
Not today.
Not today, my friend. So if you guys want some, have you listened to that podcast, Van Color?
Which one?
Van Color?
No.
It got like super popular out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, maybe I should listen to this and maybe get tips on how to make our podcast more popular. And then he does the radio DJ voice. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Do that.
Our podcast just won't be as popular as Van Color.
This week in Outrage. Yeah, no, it won't. Our podcast has been running for what, 4 years, 5 years, and we still have
at least
like single digit listeners. So I think this is
hey, we're into the 30s on the downloads.
All right,
the DLs,
double digit listeners. I think this is probably forever going to be something we just do for our own amusement.
Dude, I want to say that I wish were popular, but I'm still amazed. Like here, I have the analytics right here. The fact that our last episode got 24 downloads, I'm like, 24 people want to listen to me. My God. Oh my God.
Though if we were more popular, we could tell people to murder the homeless like Joe Rogan did.
Yeah, even though he didn't say that. Derek, are you belittling the death of homeless people just so you can dunk on Joe Rogan?
No, I'm saying that's the death
I
of
love
homeless
how
people
are like, I care so much about the homeless and stuff. I'm just going to trash the whole tragedy that happened just so I could take this like chance to like dunk on Joe Rogan for his throwaway line in the middle of a 3-hour podcast that I didn't even watch. Somebody had to separate out in a 20-second clip so I could just take it and be like, I hate Joe Rogan. He's so bad. Like nobody talks about Tom Segura's jokes and all that stuff in that same podcast.
Right. No, he did later. Wait, didn't we have this exact same discussion last week about something irresponsible Joe Rogan said? And
no,
then it's always just a throwaway line in the middle of a 3-hour episode. Yeah. But he did say that
he said just shoot him.
He said shoot
because what they were talking about was all the homeless people in Los Angeles and the fact that they have built permanent structures to accommodate the homeless encampments, like having what he was talking about was 4 porta potties under an overpass. And then Tom Segura was flabbergasted because he was saying that all the stuff they had there, because they were talking about how one homeless tent beside it had a dresser and like shoes and bookshelves and stuff. And Tom Segura was flabbergasted, saying that you can't actually touch that stuff because it's the property of the homeless person. And it's actually akin to home invasion to like take their stuff and move it.
Yeah.
And then Joe Rogan said,
it's like if someone's bike is on the road, you can't just take that bike because it belongs to someone.
And then Joe Rogan said, and then Tom Segura is like, there's no way to get rid of them. And then Joe Rogan was like, well, you could just shoot them because Los Angeles isn't.
He said the direct quote is, maybe you should just go shoot the homeless people. I mean, nobody does anything about violent crime in LA anymore.
Yeah, because they're not prosecuting violent crimes and stuff in LA. Yeah, it was wrong, but fucking like belittling people, attacking homeless people just because they're homeless, just so you can like take a cheap shot at Joe Rogan, even if it's granted, isn't right. Like instead of being like, and it also like totally like gets rid of all the blame or stuff for the homeless people. You can't like it just what was I trying to say? It's like it's delegitimizing what happened to these homeless people because it's taking the onus from the person who shot these homeless people and not being like, he's a crazy fuckhead 28-year-old who went around shooting homeless people. It's just, Joe Rogan told people to shoot homeless people. So obviously these people are shooting homeless people. So let's not even discuss why it happened or how we can solve this problem in the future.
No, I don't think it's belittling the homeless people to say that Joe Rogan should be held accountable for the idiot shit that comes out of his mouth on a semi-regular basis. And I also don't think that the 28-year-old who shot the homeless people, who was shot dead by police, got off scot-free because Joe Rogan told him to do it, because Joe Rogan wasn't shot dead by police. Joe Rogan can't insulate himself from criticism for the idiot shit that comes out of his mouth by saying like, whoa.
So are we going to go to Anthony Jeselnik every time someone kills a baby? Because he jokes about killing babies?
Anthony Jeselnik doesn't tell people to kill. Anthony Jeselnik isn't like, maybe you should just kill a baby. Anthony Jeselnik makes comedy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say, hey, this is a problem. Maybe we should all go kill babies.
Like Joe Rogan. Defending what Joe Rogan said here because it's wrong for him to say that. I'm just saying.
There we go. That's it.
What we got to do is not belittle what happened so we can dunk on Joe Rogan. Oh, also, did you see so I guess we should give people the background of what happened in Langley. Was that Monday?
Monday, I think. Yeah.
Monday starting at midnight, some guy shot 4 people. 2 of them died. They were homeless. He started at Willowbrook Mall in Langley, and he was wandering around. It was pretty sketchy on the details because they don't want to release everything, but they said that the suspect was known to police, but he wasn't a crime committer before this. So I guess he had complained about something to the police. I don't know what happened. And I also, I was going to look up if the police had stopped following municipal workers who clean up the streets in Langley as well as Vancouver. Because did you see what happened in Vancouver that day?
What? There was like a gang shooting, wasn't there?
No, in Vancouver on Monday at, I guess, about 3 p.m., the chief fire person said that they were going to get rid of the tent city on Hastings Street because it posed a fire hazard and stuff, because there was 150 tents set up along the sidewalk on Hastings Street. Because what had happened in Vancouver was on July 1st, police stopped accompanying municipal waste workers who clean up the streets every day. So the homeless people just moved in and just kind of took over the place. And I don't know if that's what happened in Langley as well at Willowbrook Mall. Like, if that's why this guy lost his shit. So like, what I'm wondering is, were the homeless people setting up encampments and pissed this guy?
I mean, the homeless people are setting up encampments because that's what homeless people do.
But what had happened was they were tearing them down every day. Like, they weren't letting them build permanent structures because the police were following the workers and just ripping apart. And then everybody got upset and said that they were harassing the homeless people a bit too much. So police were like, okay, we're not going to follow them anymore. And then the whole tent city thing just kind of exploded.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they keep doing that. Like, if you drive down Hastings Street in Vancouver right now, it's fucking grim. It's just like blocks and blocks and blocks of tents set up on the sidewalk. And it's because there have been a few notable homeless encampments in like parks off of that stretch of the city, and they just keep telling, like, they won't let these homeless people. So we're not only not providing homes for these people or anywhere for them to go, but when they are building their own
Oh, you just froze, Derek. Cool. I think it's so hot that it melted Derek's internet cables. You just froze.
Go. Yeah, I figured I did. What was I saying?
You were talking about how they weren't letting these people set up their totally peaceful societies in little parks where they weren't stabbing each other for drugs.
Yeah, I mean, even if they are rich people stab each other for drugs all the time too. And we're like, well, you don't get to have this community anymore. Yeah. So it's like, we should really stop demonizing the homeless and addicts for acting like homeless addicts who are more desperate than the rest of the population. And
you know what we should, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to dunk on your boy a little bit more and say maybe irresponsible fucks like Joe Rogan should do something to solve the problem instead of telling their audience they should go out there and shoot them. That would probably be a better use of a platform if I was a fucking meathead podcaster idiot like Joe Rogan.
What they should do is they should set up the drug hotel like that one guy. Who's the guy who wrote that book about like the Swedish or the rat drug hotel thing?
Rat Park, yeah.
Yeah. Who was that?
What's his name? It was a researcher from the guy who wrote the book about like the addiction stuff.
Yeah, was it Joa Hawari or whatever?
Johan
Hawari.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they should do is do that, where this is how you solve the homeless problem. I just came up with this. Not right now, but I was thinking about it. So you get like the equivalent of Rat Park for humans, where you have the drug hotel they set up in Sweden, where anybody can go get whatever drug they want. They can shoot it up, but they have to stay in the drug hotel. And then beside that, you have like sleeping and living accommodations, but you can't do drugs in the living accommodations, but you can do drugs in the drug hotel. And then the hard part about this is you're going to need so much like supervision and like patrols that it turns into like almost an like prison camp, because you got to like keep down the violence and you got to stop people, like outside people, from coming in and preying on the homeless, because that's what happens a lot too, is they are like other people, like drug dealers and stuff, will come in and try to like steal whatever meager belongings they have and stuff. So it's like you almost have to have police and patrols to protect them from like the outside predators, as well as from like the internal squabbles.
Yeah.
Are
but we
done?
Also like,
yeah, no, go.
Well, we need to provide these people with services to get them back on their feet, and housing, and give them a little bit of dignity, and maybe do some wealth redistribution from irresponsible fuckheads like Joe Rogan into the hands of the homeless, because Joe Rogan does not need $200 million to peddle his fucking tiny little dick shrinking supplements, when it can mean that a couple thousand people get to live a dignified life. Just putting it out there.
Okay. Joe Rogan should solve the homeless problem himself. No other rich people should be on the hook.
I mean, no, all the rich people should, for sure.
Yeah.
But only one rich person was publicly advocating for shooting homeless people last week.
The problem, like I said before, is it kind of turns into a prison camp. Is like, if you think about like the best way to do this, you would have like jobs for these people too, so that they can get used to working and feel proud of themselves for doing stuff. It's like once you put all this together, it just turns into like this work prison camp, but nice. Well, and there's no way to sell it to people. Like what I was thinking was, you set up like a giant Quonset hut, and then you have spots for tents underneath, so that they could, because that would be cheap living or whatever. Or you could set up like one of those giant like hotels or whatever. What? Why are you looking like that?
You build housing.
Yeah.
Like homes.
What kind of housing?
Like apartments.
Okay.
And then
I was thinking the tents, because that would be, you could do that tomorrow. Like you could find a field and set up a whole bunch of tents, and these people could be protected and sleep in those tents tomorrow. Because if you're going to go build housing for them, it's going to take like 2 years of red tape and bullshit. And then you got to buy the land, and you got to find it. And then you actually got to build this thing. And if you rush it, then it'll be cheap and it could fall over.
Okay, but we're not looking for solutions that like keep the people homeless, just make them homeless comfortable. We are looking for solutions that get these people off the streets and like reintegrated back into society, which is, ultimately I think that's what they want. Like I think there's a lot of shame and addiction and whatever else that keeps these people on the streets once they get there. But
that's why you have the drug hotel right beside it.
Well, but the secret would be to like helping these people work through their shame and their addiction and giving them housing.
The drug hotel, sorry, I didn't explicitly say, but the drug hotel has like doctors and therapists and all this, like, not only just a place to go do drugs, but like a place to go get help and like career counseling and stuff. And then like the camp, you could have like, I don't know, like menial work or whatever for people to start. Because you can't just be like, oh, you're homeless, here's a full-time job, go do that, because they like won't be able to adapt to it right away. So you got to start them off small.
Why?
Because they're homeless people who have drug problems, and they aren't like the right temperament to have a full-time job.
Dale, I've worked in enough kitchens, and I know you have too, to know that drug addicts with the wrong temperament can hold down full-time employment. Like it's not a question of homeless people could 100% work entire ass shifts. They don't need to like, oh, absolutely. A lot of homeless people, and we're lumping them all together here too. A lot of homeless people are just there because they're desperate and they have nowhere else to go. They're not.
Well, yeah, those people can have a full, like if you're able to work a full-time job in Dale's magical homeless utopia, then you get a full-time job. I'm just saying you start off small for the people who like can't work yet. Like they're not physically capable of working all day yet because they're so weak from years and years of drug use. Also, if they have mental health problems, they could go see doctors and stuff at the drug/treatment hotel. I guess I got to rename that now in Dale's Homeless Utopia. And then what you do is you start with the tents, and this is going to be like, maybe you could, okay, here's a good segue. The 170 kilometer city that they're going to build in Saudi Arabia, we could integrate that because that's like the sketchy sci-fi thing that always turns into a dystopia. So you get the homeless people on the bottom level because it's going to be half a kilometer high. So the city's going to be 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters tall, and it's going to have mirrored walls on both sides, and it's going to go from the ocean through the desert into the mountains. So obviously all the rich people are going to be on top because I've seen 80s sci-fi before. It's going to be like Elysium. And then you start the homeless people at the bottom, and then they work their way up the ladder, so to speak, by getting better jobs and like being like having more treatment and stuff and getting to work the better jobs with more responsibility and stuff. Or do you just want to give like fucking homeless people management jobs, Derek?
Well, no, but like you give them, they're not a different class of people. They're
a different class of worker.
No, they run the gamut from.
They can't work management jobs if they're been on the street doing drugs for 4 years.
Could you work a management job right now?
I haven't been on the street doing drugs for 4 years.
Could you work a management job right now?
Yes.
What's standing between you and homelessness?
Doing homelessness and 4 years of drug use, or just I'm not talking
what's standing
Derek,
between
I'm not
you
talking
and
about
homelessness.
The unhoused who don't have a place to live, so they're on the street and they're still working. I'm talking about the people who couldn't make things work and they've been on the street for 4 years and they're not suited to go directly into work.
Which people are there because they couldn't make things work?
The ones that suffer severe mental health issues, that when they close down the mental health hospitals and stuff, they just boot it onto the street.
What percentage of homeless people in Vancouver do you think that makes up?
A small percentage.
Yeah.
See, Derek, I'm not saying all homeless people can't have management jobs. What I'm saying is some of them can't, because some of them have mental health issues and they need treatment and they need to be weaned off their drugs and stuff. Sure, you could find probably a homeless guy who could be, or woman who could be president tomorrow. They just had bad luck and they ended up on the street.
It's not even bad. The system, it's not bad luck that puts a person on the street. And in a lot of in a lot of situations it can be, but it can also be a system that is designed to fail people who are poor to start with. And I don't think that's so there's a very small percent, well, not a significantly small percentage, but there's a percentage of people who who are who have severe psychiatric problems. Those are not the people I would put in a management position, but I think by and large, the majority of homeless people could step into jobs.
Oh yeah, and they
regular ass person jobs.
In Dale's Homeless Utopia, there's a position for that. There's middle management jobs. There's all this stuff. I'm just saying the very beginning of the program, it's like a graduated program where it's like, if you're one of the people who's been on the street and you have these mental health issues, obviously we're not just going to be like, okay, we're management, we'll see how it goes. You get a mental health professional in the drug hotel / treatment center to evaluate them and basically do the high school career counselor thing and be like, what can you do? What do you want to do?
Yeah, but it's also
that.
The whole point isn't to keep these people segregated from society and be like, oh,
they get weaned into society.
They get real ass jobs. I'm like,
at different levels.
The Saudi Arabian city is so fucking dumb.
Dude, and Saudi Arabia is not gonna build that nicely. They're gonna need slaves to build it, just like all their other Saudi Arabia cities.
Well, just give Saudi Arabia less money because A, they're just generally shitty in terms of human rights, and B, they keep doing dumb fucking shit. Like, it's like, oh, if we're talking about like, oh, homelessness is a problem and people live in poverty, and that's a huge issue, and like these people are literally dying on the streets without dignity, and meanwhile Saudi Arabia and like fucking Dubai or the United Arab Emirates and all that shit, it's like, oh, you know what we could do is we could take a fucking chunk of the ocean and we could fill it in with sand so that it looks like a bunch of fucking little islands shaped like the continents, and then we can sell pieces of those islands to people with also too much money. Or like, what was that? The Palm. You ever seen that fucking thing? The Palm.
Is that the highest building in the world thing that they built?
No, that's the Burj Dubai is the. But even like all that shit, it's like fucking. You have too much money. Stop spending it on stupid shit that benefits no one except
for the rich people. Yeah.
Except for the rich people who are making more money off of it.
You know what? As well as making Joe Rogan solve the homeless problem, also make them solve the homeless problem.
Yeah. I'd be down with that.
Dude, Saudi Arabia is like, if you gave me $1 trillion and they're like, build stuff you saw in movies you like. And I was like, oh shit, sure.
Yeah.
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 Like that 170 kilometer city. I can't even remember what it's called. I just saw it. So that's why it was fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done solving the world's homeless problem?
I mean, I feel like we made some real progress today.
I do. I think I want to take full accolades for the Dale's Drug / Treatment Hotel / Homeless Utopia Tent City. We can come up with a catchier name than that.
I want to point out that, again, for the second time in 2 weeks, you and I deserve more money than Joe Rogan because we didn't tell our listeners to go shoot homeless people. And we instead discussed solutions, potentially.
Dude, I love Joe Rogan. I'm ride or die Joe Rogan, but I still think we deserve more money.
Yeah. Take Joe Rogan's money and give it to us instead. And we have at least 30 listeners we'll bring with us
that plan.
Spotify.
Yes.
30 listeners. You could have them. They're all yours.
Spotify, if you want to give us an exclusivity contract, even though valued friend of the podcast, Sean Burke, just found out you can download it on Apple Podcasts and he won't be able to if we go Spotify exclusive.
I do it.
I'm still willing to go Spotify exclusive. I'll even stop live streaming this on Facebook because the comments are very distracting anyway. Oh, my girlfriend said I'm right. Mental health reasons and little brain damage are a major factor. I don't know. She said that, she said there's so much brain issues and that's why they get so missed. We don't really have the adequate help at all.
Yeah. I think that's more like, in general, we need a better mental health safety net for people before they end up stark raving mad on the street or stark raving mad shooting homeless people, which you would also have to be insane to do.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that guy was nuts as well. What else do we have to talk about?
I can't.
It's too hot.
Oh, do we want to talk? Downer. Did you see the fucking
downer?
Did you see the deli in Canmore that was just fucking canceled? Because
Oh, is that the one that starts with a P?
No, what Valbella's?
Is that the one who said he didn't want to support? Okay, so I'm kind of confused. I need a woke person to I need a woke person to explain this to me.
Okay. Well, you're barking up the wrong tree because I'm not particularly
They
woke,
said somebody sent them an email
asking for,
because I saw this on Reddit. They're like, this is what happened when we asked this guy if he'd support Pride.
Yeah.
But his email was saying he wasn't going to support transgender because he believed them to be groomers and stuff.
So not only did he say And all the guy, this is the best part of this story to me, is
Yeah.
all the fucking guy, they sent an email around probably to a bunch of businesses saying, hey, we're raising money for Canmore Pride. Would you consider donating some goods or services our way? And all the guy had to fucking do, all he had to do was say, no, thank you. I'm not interested at this time. Send. That's it. And end of message. That's all he had to do.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck happened to these people, but calling transgenders groomers and fucking drag queen story time is driving them fucking nuts. They can't get over it.
Well, that's the problem. So what this guy did is he wrote, he didn't write no, he fucking wrote this long-winded response and he was like, no thanks.
I'm gonna try find it.
Yeah, so it's out there somewhere. Read the whole thing.
What's it called?
Valbella, VALB, I think.
LA.
Valbella Gourmet Foods. Yeah, that's the one.
Valbella Meats Canmore. Yeah, I just want to read what the email said so people know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah.
Where is it?
I got it.
Oh, do you? Do you want to read out loud? Paraphrase. Just read it. Read his response email. It's short enough. You can read it.
It was It's actually, this is just paraphrased. I can tell you the like highlights.
Wait. Because I want to read what he said specifically, so nobody's like, "Oh, that's not what he said exactly."
It is what he said exactly, and it was like,
"Oh yeah."
Do you find it?
No, I'm reading an MSN.
I got it. Okay. It says, "Good morning. I would address you by your name, but I don't know it as you simply signed with a K. I'm sorry to say, but you could not pay me to sponsor anything to do with child grooming trannies. Please keep these sick people away from the children of this community. You should be disgusted with yourselves. I'm sure there's some woke organization mentally ill enough to help you with your event, but it isn't Valbella's. Thanks, Jeff."
That was
Jeff. All you had to say was no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. And like, so here's 100% the reason this happened is because this guy spends so much time in fucking online communities and like devouring shit from like these crazy right-wing news outlets where he's like somehow come under the impression that it is socially acceptable to reply this way to an email from a stranger. And like, you spend enough time in these circles and you get the idea that, and we see it on the left too, with like people believing that like your average fucking person gives two fucks about microaggressions or fucking like all sorts of dumb shit. But like, you spend enough time in these circles and you're like, oh, the rest of the world talks this way and thinks this way and believes this, so it's socially acceptable for me to say this shit in an email. And like, people used to have brains that kicked in at some point and they were like, oh fuck, maybe I shouldn't say this, because if I write this exact email that's in my brain right now, I am going to lose my job and torpedo a family business that's been around for 50 fucking years.
Yeah. Do you think this guy was just like, I'm going to fucking put this person in their place and no one's like, does he think nobody's going to find out? Like an email. Like I could see maybe not realizing your text would be blasted, but an email, like there's no excuse for that because emails have been put on blast for like 30 years.
So I guarantee what was going through this guy's head is, fuck, I'm going to like totally fire back at this person. I'm going to write this amazing email and then I'm going to take a screenshot and go and post it to fucking Parler or whatever. And everyone's going to think I'm a hero because I totally shot that gay person down and
dunked on those lubes.
And then he ended up, basically, predictably, the email response got leaked to the internet and
it was fire hosed because as soon as people saw it, they're like, what the fuck?
So this guy's name is now everywhere. He's been allegedly dismissed. He was the owner of the company. He's been allegedly dismissed from the company. And then people went.
He doesn't own it anymore?
Well, because it was family owned. So it was a parents and then a brother and sister. And he was the brother. And the sister posted to the Facebook group saying he's no longer with the business, which I think is just them covering their ass. But the internet was thirsty for blood on this one, so they went after every vendor that carried this deli's products, and they were like,
that's a bit much.
No, that's not a bit much.
You can't go after the vendors who hold this guys.
They weren't going after. They weren't like, I mean, I saw some people being like, I'm going to boycott these vendors. But what they did is they emailed the vendors and they were like, hey, just so you know, one of your partners is like spouting this shit.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And so all these vendors basically like pulled their products and said they're not going to sell them anymore. And I'm pretty sure this business, which seemed moderately successful, I don't think they're completely done, but they're going to be a much smaller operation after this.
Do you want to hear what the request was for that elicited that response from him?
I would love to.
So, Canmore Pride had reached out to the ownership of Valbella Gourmet Foods to inquire about sponsorship of food donations for an inclusive and free climbing event during Canmore Pride that takes place mid-September. Like, it wasn't event? Like a free climbing event. They weren't like, hey, do you want to give us some sandwiches so we can like do story time hour with the kids? Like, he totally pulled out the kids thing out of nowhere. And it's just like an event during Canmore Pride. Like, it's not just like, oh, we want to put your kids with these guys. It's like, oh, hey, it's Pride. We're all celebrating. We're doing all these events. Do you want to give some sandwiches and give yourself some publicity by sponsoring it and stuff? Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be free because they'd be providing the sandwiches.
Some sandwich publicity. Yeah.
Dude, that guy's unhinged. Like, I listen to some conspiracy podcasts and stuff, but I don't listen to that conspiracy podcast stuff. It's crazy.
Even that, like, and it's fucking wild how this like this drag queen story time.
Yeah, like
you hit the nail on. Like, people are so fucking freaked out about this because a lot of news outlets have like made it a fucking story where they're like, oh shit, like all these fucking drag queens are coming for your kids. And it's like, okay, well, like just because you're scared of drag queens doesn't mean that your kids need to be necessarily.
Like, on one hand, I'm like, anybody who wants to specifically read stories to kids, I'm questioning. But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, they're just reading stories to kids. Like if the neighborhood clown who like did clowning as a job was like, hey, can I go read stories to your kids at lunch? I'd be like, no,
Gacy,
if a
get
furry was like, hey, I'm going to go to the preschool and read stories to your kids, I would be like, oh,
I'd let the furry do it.
That's true, because they would just look like they would just be like a mascot to the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as long as he didn't or she. Yeah, that's true. It's a good point, because I was just about to say furries are the one like maligned group you're still allowed to dunk on, but it's they're getting more acceptable.
The hell out of them, but I'd also be like, kids. But yeah, kids now like animals.
Now that you mention it, furries would kind of be a layup for kids.
We should.
I'm not being a furry. It's too hot.
No, fuck no. But what we should do, just to take the heat off drag queens for a little bit, is we should hold like an Outrage Factory furry kids pancake breakfast and get like a bunch of furries and a bunch of kids together and get them in a hall and cook like some fucking flapjacks and bacon for everyone. And then like post pictures, take tons of pictures of the whole thing and post them to the internet and be like, today, you know, we wanted to commingle the furry community and the children community. And like, just see if number one, we can get some press for this podcast. And number two, we can start breaking down those barriers.
And then we can have an animal face painting tent where they get like tiger faces and dog faces, and then we just take pictures of the kids and be like, it's working.
Yeah, they're indoctrinating them. Just like a standard face painting booth.
Yeah. And then all these like fucking crazy right-wing people would just like lose it on all face painting booths from that point on.
I don't know if right-wing people like furries, because for them it's not as like, if you're a straight furry, is that okay?
Yeah, I don't know, like, are they like, it's just people wearing animal costumes and having sex? Because that sounds awesome. But if it's like you totally take on a whole persona thing, I think that would be too weird for right-wing people.
Apparently the alt-right has a strong furry contingent, according to this article from 2021 I'm reading.
That's nuts.
So there you go.
It's funny because you know how I was talking about, I listen to conspiracy theories and stuff, but not like the alt-right, like scared stuff. One of the guys, he's like, one of his points is he's like, conspiracy theories lately has been like a direct pipeline from conspiracy theory to alt-right like craziness, where it's like, it's almost like conspiracy theory is grooming people to be alt-right if they want to throw around the grooming thing too much.
Well, I mean, that is that is a major component of alt-right beliefs, right? Is like all that shit about like the New World Order and the, what are they called? The Rothschilds, the Rothschilds, the Illuminati,
and like the Jesuits and the black nobility and all that stuff.
Okay, you're going a layer deeper than I'm. Many layers.
The Illuminati. Yeah, like all the people who secretly run the world and stuff, like the Koch brothers and all that stuff.
Yeah,
there's so many. It's the funny thing is there's so many of these like super secret groups that totally run the world, and you're like, they would just fight with each other. I know human beings, and there's no way you could have someone like the Koch brothers and the Rothschilds both trying to secretly run the world without constantly being at war with each other.
No, it would be a constant power struggle.
Dickhead, idiot people reasons.
Yeah. 100%. No one's ever happy with what they have, right? It's they want to take more. So you would have all these warring factions. Also, people are just generally dog shit at keeping secrets now. So I'm sure if there was a secret society, someone would run their fucking mouth about it.
Oh, yeah.
For clout on the internet.
I mean, there are secret societies, but they're not secrets anymore. Like the Skull and Bones Society, we're just like, and it's like, the funny thing is, like, you hear about the Skull and Bones Society and you're like, oh, crazy, what do they do? And you're like, well, it's rich frat boys. And you're like, all right. And then you're like, and one of the indoctrination ceremonies is you get into a glass coffin and masturbate. And you're like, okay.
Sounds like my kind of secret society.
So the people who run the world are also the ones jerking off in a glass coffin. Yeah, and they've been able to keep it secret this whole time. Okay, cool. Yeah.
I feel like, is there video? Is there video on the internet? Is there video of it?
Yeah, do the girls masturbate in glass coffins? Because I don't want to make myself seem unaccepting, but I'd much rather watch a girl masturbate in a glass coffin than a dude masturbate in a glass coffin.
Could we put a furry? Could we put a furry in the glass coffin? Could we do that?
Yes, we could.
Could we do it at the Outrage factory? Furries and kids pancake breakfast.
Yeah, we'll have the secret society tent. What's really going on, kids?
I'd be down with that.
Do you want to learn about the Jesuit priests?
Okay, we got time for one more because
Just
I need to get the fuck. Oh, dude, I'm joking. It's sweaty hours over here.
What did you put in there? Zelensky and Vogue?
Oh, just because I saw a bunch of people, because Zelensky had like his picture in Vogue magazine.
Isn't he too busy doing war?
Well, there was a brief interview with him in his office, and I saw a bunch of people being like, "What the fuck? If I was fucking world leader, I'd be so, or if I was a citizen of the Ukraine, I'd be so pissed at this. I mean, while the Ukrainians are like, no, this guy's a fucking hero, and it's dope that like he's doing this. He's getting more exposure and calling more attention to like what the fuck is going on over here. Which, by the way, everyone who in the 3 days following Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, everyone who is like, I fucking stand with Ukraine. Do you not stand with Ukraine? You put a Ukrainian flag in your Twitter handle, and now the Ukrainian flag's not there anymore.
Oh, they took them down?
You put a blue and yellow filter over your fucking profile picture, and now that's not there. Have you abandoned the people of Ukraine? What are you doing?
Is it because Russia turned off the Nord Stream pipeline to Europe?
What did
wait, not Nordstrom.
That's
the store.
The Nord Stream?
Yeah. Wait.
Nord Stream from Russia to Germany. Yeah, they turned that motherfucker off.
Wow, they keep turning. They're like, Russia's like, oh, why you're giving Ukraine? And they're just like, boop. Like the craziest thing in the world is we're almost at World War III, but Russia's still giving Europe gas. They're like, we're not turning the pipe all the way off.
Well,
but we're turning it down. Like, I think it's down to like 30%.
You know what trumps what's more important than religion? What's more important than nationalism? What's more important than sex or gender or race or any of that shit?
What?
Money will always be important than any of that shit. So Russia could be like, yeah, fuck you, but also, yeah, we know which side of bread's buttered on, and it's buttered on the side that gives us gas money from Europe. So here you go. You go. Yeah, I don't think they would ever. And it's funny because Europe is like, oh, we're slapping some hard sanctions on you for invading Ukraine, but also we're going to continue giving you money for this thing that we need.
Yeah.
Like,
we're not going to give you 100% sanctions. What we're going to do is we're going to keep getting the gas, but we still want money and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to dump all our Russian vodka in the street, but the single most expensive natural resource you could be selling us, we're going to keep giving you money for that. But we won't drink your vodka. That's what's important here.
Yeah.
Anyway, Zelensky like posed for like a single picture with his wife and you can tell it's not like they like dressed him up in a tux. It's like literally him sitting there in the fucking like camo t-shirt that he's been wearing since day one of the conflict.
I was gonna say green t-shirt,
and and that's people are mad. People are mad about it.
Did you hear why Russia hasn't been able to close that war out? What they're saying?
No. What Russia's saying, or what people?
Russia's saying that in American-run biolabs, Ukraine is making mutant troops, and that's why they're beating the Russians. Or not beating them, but they're like stopping them from taking over so easy. Yeah, I posted a link on Yahoo News. There's a story. It says Russia says it's losing because Ukraine has experimental mutant troops created in secret biolabs.
Damn, that's fucking dope.
My favorite thing in the world. Like, I want this to be true. I want like mutant soldiers to be fighting crime just so that we could get like the Ninja Turtles and everything. Just let's go fucking nuts.
Men who are actual mutants.
Yeah, but I want like mutants that are like the laws of physics allow, like you just shoot drugs or crossbreed people with monkeys like China did so they get super strong. I don't want people to be like able to shoot red beams out of their eyes because it's like, where does the energy for that red beam come from?
Just like super strong.
Yeah. Well, not super strong, but like crossbreed strong. What's that called when you're like mixed breeded with an animal? Is that mutant? No, it's like
there's
a specific word for it.
Oh my god, I know what you're talking about.
It's too hot to think.
I know what you're talking about. Like centaurs and shit.
Yeah. Oh, like your centaurs.
I mean, I'm surprised we don't have a race of centaur people yet.
Oh my god. Could you imagine? Oh, That's like they just found out the world has 30% more tigers than they thought they did.
30% more tigers?
Yeah, they're like, oh, hey, remember how we said no, tigers were almost extinct? We found out there's 30% more. It's like, where? How do we know there's not centaur people if there's just a third as much fucking tigers we didn't know about?
That's true.
What did you do? Did you go to like a different part of the jungle? Like, don't you have satellites? Can't you tell this shit?
Like to see every centaur on Earth? There's gotta be centaur somewhere.
Likewise, maybe they found them with LiDAR.
There's what the fuck is LiDAR?
LiDAR is light activated. It's like when they shoot radar from planes, they can see through the foliage. So like they're going through like the Amazon jungle and they're like finding these old cities that they didn't know existed because the forest had overgrown them. So they're like finding pyramids and shit in the Amazon. It's fucking nuts. Because what had happened was a bunch of Europeans were going down the Amazon and they were talking about like El Dorado and these golden cities. And then they went back to Europe, and 150 years later, other travelers came and there was nobody there. And they're like, there's no fucking cities here. They lied. But what had happened was the first Europeans brought smallpox and killed all those people.
Yeah.
And the Amazon forest grew so fast that you couldn't tell there was a city there because it just got overgrown. But now they're like flying over the place and they're shooting LiDAR down, and it's like radar that you can see. It's almost like like the easiest way to think about it is it's like an X-ray beam that you can see through all the trees. So they could see all these structures of these cities that the first Europeans were talking about. It's wild stuff.
Damn. I'm reading a fucking book right now.
Yeah. I read books. Dope.
But it's all about
that's the story. I'm reading a book.
That's it. That's the whole
that's all statement. I got. Okay, sorry.
I'm reading a book about how all these different sites across the world where like people have abandoned and nature has started to like reclaim it and take it over. Like the DMZ between the Koreas and there's another one in Cyprus. Chernobyl is in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple like abandoned like industrial sites in the US where nature has started to reclaim, and they talk about
dope.
Like how they have it's actually a really dope book. I want to go like visit a lot of these places, but it's like, well, not the DMZ obviously, but maybe some
the ones in the States.
Yeah,
if you go to one of those, I'll go with you.
Yeah,
that sounds dope.
But yeah, it's really fucking interesting. So it's basically like the whole thing, the whole message of the book is like, well, we can expect this to happen after humans have like disappeared from the earth. Like this is how nature will take back over and like reclaim things, and what'll be different from its original state. But
dude, there was this there was like a documentary my brother was watching. I think it was on like the National Geographic channel, but it was like the whole process was what would happen if all the humans died, and it just goes through I
want to watch that. It
goes through the timeline of what happens, like all the nuclear reactors melt down and all the stuff, and then it sucks because it's like from the mid 2000s, so the CGI is pretty bad, but it's a fucking cool idea.
Was it Life After People, right?
Yeah. What year did that come out?
2009.
Yeah, so it's
probably not the best.
It's got 2009 CGI from National Geographic, so it's not even like big budget CGI.
Yeah, shitty budget CGI.
Yeah. Okay, so back to this Russian mutant thing. The claim was made Monday by 2 Russian lawmakers heading up a commission to investigate biolaboratories in Ukraine. Remember that? They keep bringing that up.
Yeah. Well,
right when they started, they're like, we're going to find American biolabs. And now they're like, we're still going to find them.
That was like the US with weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
And then 10 years later, they were like, those didn't exist.
Well, we didn't find weapons of mass destruction. We did find bad guys. And everybody's like, all right.
That's good. We'll allow it. Good enough.
And America's like, well, I really like doing war. so I'll let you keep doing war. And then they're like, we can get cheap oil. And you're like, yeah, fuck, go do war. Give me cheap oil.
I don't even care if the guys are bad. Just tell me they are, and I'll never bother learning anything else about it. And you can go fuck around in any country you want. Just keep telling me that we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. And you can carpet bomb an entire fucking sovereign nation with napalm if that's what you want to do, just as long as you tell me that we're the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently these guys tested the Ukrainian POW's blood, and they claimed they uncovered a range of diseases that suggests they were secretly experimented on for military purposes. Okay, so
like monkey diseases.
This is diminishing
like
returns. Yeah, because it started with super-powered mutant soldiers, and now it's just turned into people were experimented on, and now they have diseases.
Yeah. Like, I think they were like, oh yeah, these guys have super strength. That's why they're kicking our asses so much.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, we hope that's true because we're getting our asses kicked. And by the way, we just took this one prisoner of war and did some blood tests, and we think there's some meat. We think there's some meat to this rumor.
Yeah, and it turns out he definitely got the herpes from an American biolab.
Yeah.
He didn't get that from fucking just kissing some rando.
Super herpes. Is the Ukraine, like, Russia's got to be close to well,
they took over the Donbass region,
taking what they want, right? Like, yeah, well, isn't that it?
That's what they said they wanted, but now I think that I don't know. I think they kind of reached a point of no return where they can't just be like, oh, okay, that's what we wanted. We're going to back out now. Now it's just kind of like a thing where it's like, since Russia has so many sanctions and shit on it, it kind of has to go all the way just to, I don't know.
Damn.
I don't know. Yeah. It's like it would make sense if they're like, okay, what we said we wanted to do was get the Donbass region out of the Nazi regiment that's in the Ukrainian army, and we've done that, so we're going to back out now. That would be like the smart thing to do. What was that regiment? Did you read about that? The Nazi regiment?
Yeah. That was also the one that that Russia used to justify invading, was that they had to go after these Nazi super soldiers in the Ukraine. Nazi mutant super soldier. It's like the fucking was it the Red Skull
Hydra?
It's fucking they were going after Hydra.
What was that regiment called? Because I think they're beat now. They have to be.
See, part of me is like, well,
Azov regiment. So what happened was in 2000, here's what I heard on podcasts. In 2014, when Ukraine wanted to take over the Donbass region in like a military coup, there was like a Nazi militant group that they kind of been like, all right, we need your help to take this over. And then they did. And then they're like, all right, obviously we can't let you be Nazis anymore, so we're just going to roll you into the Ukrainian military. And then they everybody was just like, all right, that's it, we're done. But the Azov regiment still was like, okay, we're still going to be Nazis, right? And they're like, yeah, we will. And then they did a bunch of terrible shit in the Donbass region to the Russians who lived in Ukraine. And that's Putin's whole thing, was like, well, these white supremacists in the Azov regiment are fucking with the Russians who live in Ukraine, so we got to go save them. So that was obviously a lie, because they've taken the Donbass region, which is the eastern side of Ukraine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We totally went off on a random side subject that I didn't do any research for. This is why I don't do research for this podcast, because I'll read something and then you and me will like start talking about something we definitely were probably going to talk about, which was the whole Joe Rogan homeless shooting thing.
Joe Rogan being a piece of shit. Yeah, we'll talk
Derek,
about that.
Everybody knows you hate Joe
We'll
Rogan.
talk about that.
Whatever. Anyways,
we'll talk
and then
about
we
that.
end up in the fucking Ukraine war, which shouldn't be that weird to end up in because it's something that's still going on. Okay, we solved the homeless problem. Let's solve the Ukrainian war problem.
Let's do that on the next podcast when I'm not sweating my dick off. And then maybe after that we do climate change because I'm fucking sick of this heat, bro. I'm sick of this fucking heat, bro.
Yeah, dude. I was like in winter, I was like, I kind of want to move somewhere out of Vancouver, but I want it to be a little bit warmer than Vancouver. I'm ixnaying that. Vancouver is more than warm enough for me.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's not even, it's warmer in other places right now, I think.
It's not as humid. That's the problem.
It's
like the reason it's only like 30 something today, 34, 35. And the reason it is hot, but it's not like, because like Kamloops gets above 40, but it's dry in Kamloops.
Kamloops is a fucking desert though. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason it sucks here is the same reason that -10 sucks in winter is because it's so fucking wet.
Yeah.
Hey, what was that thing they were super worried about where the humidity gets above a certain percentage and you can't cool down?
Basically the way it is once there's a certain percentage of humidity in the air, your sweat actually will no longer evaporate into the air, rendering your body unable to cool down. And like just generally the more humid it is somewhere, then the more hot you will feel. So there is truth to that. I don't know if it works the other way for coldness, but it definitely works for heat. And once there's I don't know what it's fucking called, the sweaty evaporating point, and once it hits that point, you literally cannot sweat anymore because your sweat moisture won't evaporate into the air.
Yeah.
And
I think it's 90% humidity,
something like that. Hey, internet, thanks for joining us for this wild ride as we solved homelessness and rediscovered for the first time why Joe Rogan is a fucking asshole. I have been your co-host, Zarek Boland.
Which podcast do you listen to? I gotta go hate on those.
You're right. You're right on with the Anthony Jeselnik one. So I listened to that.
Okay.
And then that's the Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project. And
did I ever tell you why I can't listen to Anthony Jeselnik anymore?
Why?
Because he was on Joe Rogan and they're talking about his comedy.
I can't listen to him anymore.
And they were talking about how like people take their jokes too seriously and they're just jokes. And then Anthony Jeselnik like let it slip. He's like, yeah, mine's just a persona. And I was like, what?
Oh yeah, you did.
I was like, record screech. I don't know. Like it's fine if you're that dark and humor and that's just your personality. But if it's just like a fake thing you put on, then it's just like, I don't know. But I guess if he was like that all the time, he wouldn't have friends.
No, he wouldn't. He would be a very lonely man and he might possibly commit crimes and be in prison. The other one I listen to is the Boys Cast with
the Boys
Cast with two other comedians, but they're more right leaning. So I feel like basically every episode they'll like make fun of some like woke shit that's going on in like wokeness. And it's usually so I do that to kind of counteract because I do listen to a lot of leftist shit, but then I'm like, well, these guys are funny and they do poke fun at like some really dumb shit that happens. So it evens out.
Well, that's good.
It evens out.
Nice.
Follow me on Twitter at Herder. That's your cue.
Oh, well, I thought you froze again.
No.
Okay. I follow me on Twitter at SuperDalebot. Follow the pod at Outrage Fact Pod. Send us an email to tell me how I'm always right at or outragefactpod@gmail.com.
Head on over to Facebook, facebook.com/outragefactpod, and post on our wall about how Joe Rogan is a fucking shitbag.
Yeah, and then you and Derek can be friends and listen to whatever shitty podcast you just
listen to my shitty podcast. And then head on when you're done doing that, head on over to Redbubble and buy some of the fucking dope merch. That
link is in the show notes. Also, if you're listening to this on Audible or not on Audible. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast and you want to see how dope my
Sweaty.
pink face is, or my Neapolitan tan, because I go from chocolate to strawberry to vanilla.
On the
go
top.
check that out at YouTube. Just search Outrage Factory and it'll come up. And is there anything else?
Oh, if you like the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you are listening to your podcasts. Just hit the like button and leave a review if you're able to do that.
If you leave a review, we get bumped up in the algorithm. So that's the most important thing to do. Also, I don't know if we were going to stream you and me watching Hitch, right? Do you still want to do that?
All right. They haven't made, wait, I got to see if they started.
They're not going to make the movie, Derek. You're going to have to watch Twitch with me on Netflix. I love how we forget what it's called every single time.
What was it?
I can't remember. Just Google Netflix Will Smith. But they are going to make other movies. It was just this movie that they were looking for a director to start production, and we made the bet on because you're like, they're going to start making this because they want money. And I was like, that project is done.
Oh, you'll be sad to know that
done.
Fast and Loose. Willow Smith, when we saw her live, did not perform the song that you knew. The
hair.
I whip my hair.
Oh, was it because she shaved her head out of solidarity for her mother? And it would be completely awkward.
Yeah, maybe it was inside. Maybe she didn't want to remind everyone of her whole dad slapping a guy for making fun of her mom's hair thing.
That's a good point. That sucks because that's her biggest hit. I think
it was a banger,
isn't it?
She's like more like indie rock, like punky kind of shit now. So maybe it was just the audience. I don't know.
Oh, dude, it's so funny because you and me were talking about you going to Machine Gun Kelly, and then me and Andrea were talking about Machine Gun Kelly because she's like, because you were taking your son, and she's like, is that okay? Like, how's Machine Gun sound? And I was like, well, let's listen to it, see if it's okay. And then I was listening to this, and I was like, what does this remind me of? And then I was like, oh shit. This just sounds like a little bit sadder. Angels and Airwaves.
Yeah.
Have you listened to it lately? Like the first Angels and Airwaves album sounds exactly like Machine Gun Kelly's. I can see the
similarities for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the voice.
Wait, Travis Barker wasn't Angels and Airwaves, was he? That was.
He might have been. He's the drummer.
He's the drummer for Machine Gun Kelly, which could also explain that. Drummer and producer, Machine Gun Kelly. Yeah.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I think he might have did Angels and Airwaves. What's the singer's name? Tom DeLonge? No.
Yeah. Yes. It was.
Wait, what's the bassist name?
Mark Hoppus, but it wasn't Mark and Angels.
Tom DeLonge was in Angels and Airwaves. I don't know if Travis Barker went with him to Angels.
Angels and Airwaves. Travis Barker. No. It was just Tom DeLonge. I gotta get the fuck out of this room, bro. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Until next week,
stay angry. All right.